Hi, this is Tracy Sparrowhawk here, aka the Skinny Mama. And I have a quick question for you. Do you read the nutrition labels that are on the back of food? And do you understand everything that's on there and how it applies to your lifestyle? Well, if you don't, I'm here to break it down for you and give you some information that will help you when you're doing your grocery shopping and looking for what food you want to get for you and your family. And if you're new to my channel, I just want to say thanks for stopping by. I hope you enjoy the videos. I am doing videos on a regular basis and sharing information about healthy lifestyle and focusing on busy moms, because a lot of the time as busy moms, we're busy taking our kids where they need to be in between our work out of the home or in the home and our duties at home. So consequently, we put ourselves last a lot of the time. So I'm here to try and help you put yourself first, serve yourself first, so that you can serve the other people in your life better and in a more joyful way. So if you want, just subscribe to my channel and you'll get also click the notification bell so you will get notified when I upload a video. If you also want, I have a free gift for you that you can pick up. The link is in the description box below. And what I'm giving away is the ultimate checklist of foods to avoid to help you lose weight fast and easy. So these are a complete list of foods that you can carry with you on your phone so that you can, when you're at the grocery store, you'll have a list of food that you can avoid and ones that you can include. All right, so I hope you take the time to get that list, and I will get started in the content. So I did a little bit of research on nutrition labels because I'm, always wanting to make sure I understand what I'm reading there too. And the great thing about nutrition fact label is that they help you limit the amount of nutrients or calories or things that you don't want in your diet, as well as help you look for the foods where you can increase the type of nutrients that you want in your diet. So as we go through, I pulled a few things out of our cupboard here to share with you some of the nutrition values that are on these foods. Now, the nutrition facts label, which is what it is called, the nutrition facts, it has a lot of information on it, and the top part it's going to vary with each food product, right? It contains product-specific information, and it will tell you what the serving size, the very top line tells you what the serving size is, and how many calories are in a serving size. So, for example, this peanut butter here, the serving size of it is 1 tablespoon, and then it also lists the metric equivalent, which is 15 grams. And then the number of calories that are in 1 tablespoon of this peanut butter is 90. Now, if you're watching your calories, this is very good to help keep you on track if you're trying to keep at a certain number of calories in a day. Now, these values on the food label are based on a 2,000 calorie a day diet. So if you're trying to cut your calories, you just have to be aware of that. And especially with regard to the percent daily value. So that's the numbers with the percent on the right side of the label. So that's the percent daily value. And again, based on a 2,000 calorie per day diet. Now, what this also will show is how many servings per container. So if you have this can of soup, for example, on the nutrition fact label, the serving size is 1 cup, which is 250 milliliters. Now, we are in Canada, so everything is in grams and milliliters and liters. So this soup can actually contains 398 milliliters. So if you're looking at this label and you're thinking that, it says the calories are 110, you're thinking that 100, this whole can is 110 calories. That's wrong. You have to look at how many servings are in this container, or how big the portion size is relative to the container. So um, as I said, the serving size is considered 1 cup, and this has 398 milliliters, which is 250 milliliters is 1 cup. So there's just a little, almost 2 servings of soup in this can. So you have to watch that as well. All right, so now the serving sizes are standardized to make it easier, and you want, like I said, you want to pay attention to the serving size. Now the calories are a measure of how much energy you get from a serving of the food. Now calories are not equal to nutrients, right? So just because something has, let's take this iced tea for example. This iced tea has 160 calories in 1 serving, which is 500 milliliter bottle. Now, is that 180 calories? Does it have any nutrients? Does it have anything that's beneficial to your body? Well, if we go down and read the label, which I'll go through and break down all this stuff, you will see that the nutrient value does not equal the calories. So if you're looking at especially the little snack packs of food, just because it says it's 100 calories, which is considered to be a moderate amount of calories, doesn't mean they're good calories, or it's going to be healthy for you. So just because something is low calorie doesn't mean it's necessarily good for you or healthy to eat. Now, the number of servings that you consume will determine the number of calories that you actually take in. So again, using this can of soup, if I were to consume this whole can of soup, it says that it's 110 calories per cup, or per 250 milliliters, but this actually is 398 millimeters. So I'm consuming almost twice the number of calories that are in this, that are listed on the label. So you have to be aware of what the serving size is and how many servings that you're consuming. Now, a general guide to calories is that something is considered low calorie if it's about 40 calories. Food is considered moderate if it has 100 calories, and if it has 400 calories or more, it's considered high calorie. So that's another way you can classify these. Now the calories, the next, as you go down, you see the calories are listed. Now fat. Now this shows the calories from fat. So in this case with this peanut butter, it says there are 8 grams of fat in it, and then the percentage of the daily value is about 12% of fat. So usually under the fat, it'll list the saturated and the trans fat. Now, what is the difference between saturated and trans fat? Well, saturated fat raises the level of cholesterol and high levels of the HDL cholesterol in your blood, and it increases the risk of heart disease and stroke. So saturated fat is not good. You don't want to eat a lot of it. In fact, the American Heart Association recommends that about 5 to 6% of your calories should come from saturated fat. So what that means, excuse me here, what that means is on a 2,000 calorie per day diet, 120 of those calories should come from saturated fat. So in this case, 8 grams of this peanut butter comes from saturated fat. And there's 1.5 grams of fat in there. So when you're looking at saturated fat, you want to pay attention to meat and dairy products, because that is where you'll find it in fatty beef, in poultry with the skin on, lard and cream. You'll also find it in lamb, pork, beef fat, butter and cheese, and some other dairy products. It'll also be found in many baked goods and fried foods. And some plant-based oils are saturated fat. So palm oil, palm kernel oil, and coconut oil are all saturated fat oils. Now, trans fat. Now, according to the Mayo Clinic, trans fat raises your bad cholesterol, which is the LDL cholesterol, and lowers the good HDL cholesterol. And doctors do not like trans fat. They say it's the worst type of fat that we're consuming today. And most trans fat is formed through an industrial process, and it adds hydrogen to vegetable oil. And this causes it to become solid at room temperature. And it doesn't spoil as quickly, so it's kind of used as a preservative in prepackaged foods that are made with hydrogenated oil. Now, another place that you might find this type of oil is in the restaurant deep fryers. And now they use this type of fat in the deep fryers because it doesn't have to be changed as often. Now, just an interesting aside, if you notice behind restaurants, there's these big black bins, and that's where they put the grease from the deep fryers. So, did you know where that grease goes? This might be a little alarming for you or concerning. When I found out, I was pretty grossed out myself. They take that fat from those bins and it goes to rendering plants. And so a rendering plant is a place where they take dead animals. And dead animals can be from natural death, that can be from disease, that can be roadkill, euthanized animals. All go to a rendering plant, and then they are stripped down of all their usable parts, and whatever is not used is thrown into a big boiling vat along with this restaurant grease, and it's all boiled up, and they scoop it up, and the top foamy fatty layer on top gets sold to cosmetic and personal care companies. So you're putting that restaurant grease on your face and on your body if you're using products from the retail stores, because most manufacturers are using rendered animal product and byproduct. So just so you know that, I thought it was an interesting aside. But back to my content. Now, trans fat you also find in baked goods and ready-made frosting. You'll find it in snacks like chips and popcorn. And it's also in fried food, like deep fried foods like French fries, donuts, fried chicken. And this is, it comes from the oil used in the cooking process. That's what makes it high in trans fat. Refrigerator dough, like canned biscuits and cinnamon rolls, those are also high in trans fat, as well as pizza dough. And we wonder why the Pillsbury Doughboy looks the way he does, right? Now, it's also found in creamer and margarine. So non-dairy coffee creamers also have trans fat. Now, on the label, a company can label something 0 grams and say there's no trans fat if there's less than 0.5 grams of trans fat in it. So, for example, this peanut butter is labeled 0 grams trans fat. And as well, I do have some almond butter here. It's also 0 grams of trans fat because it's a plant-based oil or food. So now the ingredient list might show partially hydrogenated vegetable oil, and that means there is some trans fat in it. So if your ingredient list, and I can just look at this peanut butter quickly. No, this contains hydrogenated vegetable oil, cottonseed and rapeseed oil. So even though it's labeled 0 grams, there is some trans fat in here. Now, the thing about that is if you eat several portions of food containing this 0 grams of trans fat, you're still getting some, and the more portions you eat of that food, the higher your trans fat levels are going to be. That makes sense, right? Now, think about a bag of chips. When you have a big bag of chips, a serving size of chips is about 14 chips. So who stops at 14 chips when they're eating that, right? I know I don't. And the thing about that is too, when they say 14 chips, what size do they mean? How big? Their chips are all different sizes. Some of them are broken, some of them are folded over, some are thicker than others. So it's kind of a loose guide. And I really don't know anybody who will count out the exact number of chips that is in a portion size and just stick to that. If you do that, good for you. But it's probably better to just not eat the chips. Go eat some carrots instead. So anyway, carrying on here. The next section that you get to, our next line, is the cholesterol. So you want to keep an eye on that because that is associated with the fat. So if there's fat in it, there may be cholesterol listed as well. Sodium is the next line. So if you're really concerned about your salt intake, you want to keep an eye on the sodium. The next line is the carbohydrates, and this is where they break down the fiber and the sugar. So generally with carbohydrates, like carbohydrates is the combination of the fiber and the sugars. And as far as, where did my notes go on that? Okay. As far as the sugar goes, the sugar content, if you notice on the side, they have a percent of daily value for the fiber, but not for the sugar. Now for the fiber, it's recommended that people get about 25 to 30 grams of fiber in a day, and most people are deficient in fiber. So you want to look for foods that are high in fiber. And I believe if a product is considered high fiber if there's more than 5 grams of fiber in it. So the higher the grams of fiber, the better. You want to look for that kind of, look for those kind of foods. And then the sugar, there's no daily recommendation has been recommended for the amount of sugar that we can safely consume in a day. So you really have to watch the grams of sugar. And a banana has about 12 grams of sugar, so you want to try and keep it below that level if you can. Otherwise, you're getting into really high sugar amounts. Now, the sugar contains naturally occurring sugars as well as any added sugars. So, you know, if you have canned fruit, for example, the fruit naturally has sugar, but if they've added it in fruit juice concentrate or in the syrup, then there's added sugar as well. And that's going to, of course, put the count way up there. This iced tea has 43 grams of sugar in this bottle. And a serving size is the whole bottle of 500 milliliters. So that is not good. You'll be buzzing after that, that's for sure. As well as there's caffeine in here too. Now, companies might disguise the word sugar and use different terms for it. So when you're looking at sugar, or they may list sugar and then some of these other terms after it. So you're looking for corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup, fruit juice concentrate, maltose, dextrose, sucrose, honey, and maple syrup. So those are all added sugars that might be in the ingredient list. Also, glucose fructose might be in there. That's another type of sugar that's added. Now, the other line, the next line after the carbohydrate is protein. So again, with proteins, there's no percent of the daily value listed because again, there's not really a recommended, well, I guess there is a recommended value, but unless something is labeled high protein, then they don't have to put down the recommended daily value. But there is a reading for the grams, how many grams of protein is in something. So now I have a box of just some protein bars that I have here. And these protein bars have 10 grams of protein. So if you're looking for, a high protein bar for a snack, this is a really good option. And the sugars are only 7 grams. So you'll want to make sure that the proteins are higher than the sugar, and that the fiber is higher as well. So those are some things to look for in that department. And then the bottom of the label shows the vitamins and the minerals. So they usually list, depending on the product, they might list a few more things, but generally it's vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and iron. So those are the 4 major ones that are listed on the bottom. And again, it gives you the percent daily value. It doesn't give you a gram value, but it gives you a percentage of your daily value that product will give you in those four ingredients. Now, in this peanut butter, it also lists iron, vitamin E, niacin, folate, and magnesium. So there's some additional information there. And this almond butter shows iron, or no, vitamin A, C, calcium, and iron. So a lot of people are deficient in these vitamins and minerals, so you want to look and see whether your product has some of those vitamins and minerals as well. And of course, the higher the number, the better. So I hope that was helpful for you. That's what I found out. There's lots more that you could talk about with nutrition labels, but I don't want to go on and on too much. Now, the next thing you want to do after you look at the nutrition label is look at the ingredient list. And depending on what you're looking for, if sugar is in the top 3 ingredients, then you probably don't want that. You want to look for something where sugar is at the bottom of the list. And depending on what the item is, like soups and canned goods, and can contain a lot of preservatives. So if you're looking at the ingredient list and the words on there you can't pronounce, or they're longer than a phone book, then you might want to put that down and go find something else or look for a healthier alternative. You want to stay away from soy, because that soy has been known to be mimic estrogen in the body, and soy is usually also GMO, genetically modified, so it's not good that way. Plus, it just does bad things in your body. So stay away because of the way it's processed here. Stay away from anything with soy, and I know that's pretty hard these days because soy is in just about everything that we consume. So there's things that you may be particularly looking for, like soy, dairy, gluten, MSG, things like that. So you can look at those in the ingredient list to see whether they're there. So that's what I have for you today. I hope you got some value from this video and that it will help you when you go shopping to pick out the foods that are going to serve you and your family in a better way. And like I said, remember to grab my ultimate checklist of foods to avoid, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.